Welcome back, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of The Slide. As you know, this podcast seeks to normalize conversations that must take place in our community, centered around topics such as education, justice, politics. But before we try to attempt to cross those controversial seas, we got to build a vehicle that allows us to have safe transport. It is my honor to have the opportunity to speak today with Mrs. Monique Johnson, the Youth Crime Prevention Director of the Jacksonville Urban League. Welcome today, Mrs.
Yeah,
Johnson. It's an honor to have you
it's an
here with
honor
us
to be
today.
here.
Could you please, for us, tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, and if you could also share a little bit about the mission of the Jacksonville Urban League and your role as the Youth Crime Prevention Director.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am the Youth Crime Prevention Director for the Jacksonville Urban League. I've been in that role now almost a year. So I've been working in the policy arena now for almost 10 years. And so I have a background in health education and behavior. I did mental health outpatient therapy for a year. So I have my master's in clinical social work. And I really thought that's where I wanted to be at. I really thought I wanted to be directly client facing, doing therapy. I still feel like that is a path for me, but I honestly like the policy arena. And that is what brought me into the Urban League. And so the Urban League in itself, just a little backstory history. So it's a part of the National Urban League, which was created in 1910. So it was birthed out of the Great Migration. And during a time when a lot of African Americans fled up north in seek of refuge, better job opportunities. And so that's when the Urban League kind of took flight, so to speak, and to try to support disenfranchised communities. The Jacksonville Urban League has been around since 1947. So it's been around for over 75 years in the Jacksonville community. Um, basically taking up that torch, keeping that going. And so we have community empowerment. That is the biggest motto or the mantra for the Jacksonville Urban League. And so within that, we have crime prevention. We have veteran support services. We have entrepreneurial services. We have workforce development, career readiness. We have victims of crime. We have social advocacy. And so all of those fall under the umbrella within the Jacksonville Urban League. And so, one of my main goals within the youth crime prevention program is to focus on prevention. Intervention is a part of it, but the Urban League really likes to take a proactive approach to it. And so, our idea is that if we can implement policies, if we can implement support systems that prevent crime, then we won't have to do the intervention part. But the intervention part is there, should it be?
That's profound. Intervention versus prevention, right? I don't think we ever really look at it or think about it in that light, right? Intervention versus prevention. I've been all over. I don't want to say all over the country. I don't want to be arrogant like that, but I've been in multiple cities across the United States, and I've been in multiple venues, such as the one that you conducted at the North Side Church of Christ,
Yep.
and I had yet to experience what I experienced in your particular
Yeah.
setting. Why is this a passion for you?
Uh, a personal thing. I have 7 children, so I have 7 children ranging from the age of 25 to 10, and so 4 of those are boys. And so when I look at the data, the stats for District 4, which includes or Circuit 4, which includes Nassau, Clay, and Duval County, it shows me that ages 15 to 17 male are the highest rate of juvenile arrests, misdemeanor, and felony. And so when I look at that and I look at my boys whom, we're raising, I'm saying, well, I know what kind of home and what kind of environment I'm providing for my children, but not every children is afforded the opportunity to be born and raised into a home like what we're doing for our kids. And so for that reason alone, it's a passion of mine. I was an at-risk youth. And so I was pregnant. I was a teenage mom and I was involved in risky behaviors as a kid. And so I didn't come from that type of background, right? So I 2-parent home. My dad retired Navy vet, and so I grew up in a 2-parent home in a what some would consider a nice or affluent neighborhood at that time. And I had all of the provisions that a child, what you would think a child should have to avoid, life of crime, so to speak. And though while I don't have a criminal record, I still was involved in risky behaviors,
Mhm.
right? And so I know that it's not a one size fits all. Everybody doesn't have that same type of story or background. And so just knowing that what I went through, knowing that I'm trying to, raise my sons in the best environment possible, I just want to be able to maybe take my story, my personal passions, and be able to do that for other kids.
Thank you so much for your sacrifice and the things that you're doing for the community at large. In order to successfully achieve the goals, we have to be able to identify the barriers that we face in
Yes.
order to be able to construct plans that allow us to be successful. What are some of the things that you see that we're facing every day in our communities relative to crime that we can kind of implement at the user level, if you
Mhm.
would, in order to give us the opportunity to be successful? Because like you said, you came from a moderately affluent
Mhm.
environment,
Mhm.
yet and still the risky behaviors were still there.
Yeah.
So what are some things that we can do at our level that'll give us the ability to be successful?
Yeah, I think barriers that we face, food insecurity, job insecurity, um, the destruction of family unit is there. And the thing is, we have organizations here in place. So I can't say that we have those barriers and then we don't have the solutions to them. So we have solutions in place. We have organizations that are here within our community that provide food. We have food banks. We have organizations like the Jacksonville Urban League and so many others out there that help with career readiness and workforce development. We have organizations that exist out there that help with mentoring and providing father figures and things like that for our youth out here. So those are in place. I think the issue is, how do we disseminate that information out there to the people that need it? And I say this all the time because I'm a part of so many different coalitions and community organizations. And so I'm like, it's good that, we're all in the room and we know that we all do this type of work. But how does the other person that's out there that is maybe a single mom and doesn't know where the next meal is going to come from, or there's a few days between her next paycheck and she's like, I don't know what I need to do, or I want to get my son involved in this, but how can I get him a part of that, because I have to work and I come home, I'm tired, I have to cook, and just all the things that just comes with being a working parent. It's like, how do they know that these programs exist? And that's where I see personally where the disconnect is, because the programs are out there,
Mhm.
they exist, the solutions are out there. It is making the solutions accessible to the people that need it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's very important. And it's important for individuals who have the opportunity to sit, listen, and consider the words that we're sharing here today. Like, subscribe, share, repost, whatever it takes in order to allow the information to be disseminated. Because what we have to be able to do is achieve critical mass. Like, we have to be able, for individuals who are impacted by some of the information that we're sharing or some of the things that we're considering, we have to get the information to the appropriate individual so we can do something about it. Like, in my mind, one loss of life is too much, right? Especially for something foolish, right? It's
Yes.
just too much, right? There's no reason why a young man, 14, 15, 16, that haven't really experienced life should have their life taken away from them so senselessly,
Yeah.
as we have seen, over the last year or so. So that's my thing. What do we have to do in order to be able to achieve balance in our environment? And which is a great segue into the question that I asked you in the build up to this segment, because I think that your answer was just so profound. But I'm gonna ask you again during the course of the taping. What do you believe is the greatest challenge that we face as a community to our success?
Yeah. Um, Being able to come together. I think that is the biggest one. I think the disconnect that exists within the community, the feeling of that if Tavares is doing something to prevent crime and Monique is doing something to prevent crime, they can't possibly work together to prevent crime? How can they do that? There are over 9,000 nonprofit organizations in Jacksonville alone. We're not talking about Clay County, Baker. That's all. We're talking about Jackson. There's over 9,000. And then within that 9,000, a lot of them have synergy. A lot of them mimic what everybody is doing. But then we're talking about the population of Jacksonville. So when we look at the population versus the amount of organizations that's out there, there's still a huge gap in people that are not getting services, that are not getting their needs met. So I say all that to say that there is plenty of work to be done by so many different people. There are really great organizations out there that can utilize really good volunteers. And that alone says that I can't do the work by myself. You can't do the work by yourself. This organization can't do it by themselves. It takes all of us collectively coming together. And I think that that's one of the biggest threats, and that's one of the biggest hindrances, is not realizing the power in togetherness.
That's profound. The power in togetherness. That's important, just to be able to understand what we can do when we operate in. And I think that's the one thing that, in the course of our history here in America, I think that's the one thing that we have not tried, and we're so afraid to try it. And I always say, and and I know people don't like President Trump, but when he say, "What you got to lose?" What do we got to lose? Trying unity. Let's try unity. We continue to give everybody else a shot, but we won't try one another. And I'm saying that to say, as we building up in this in the course of this discussion, because I intend on bringing you back as often as you can, because you're a plethora of wisdom, and right now we just laying the foundation for the things that y'all will uncover and y'all will learn from listening to Mrs. Monique Johnson, right? So now you said your passion was policy, right? What is the importance of policy, and how does it impact our community?
Yeah, so policy falls within like the macro level. So macro level of change, and then you have the meso level, and then you have micro level. So micro level is I'm talking to you and I'm helping you with whatever issue you have. And then we have meso, that is community change. So we might go into a certain underserved community, and then we simply pour in our resources and our efforts into that community. And then at the macro level, that is where system change takes place, and it covers regions of change. And so that's just where I feel that the most work has the biggest impact on communities, is at the macro level, is at the policy level. So it's like we are realizing that students are going to school hungry. How can we fix that? And not just this school has 50 students that are coming to school that are not eating, but the entire district has it, or the county, or the state, or the region. Like, how can we address that? And that's what I like about policy, because it is looking at an issue and figuring out how can we impact everyone under this? How can we do a blanket change, systematic change that affects everybody that falls under that? So even though it might not be a need for somebody, but if they do have the need there, it covers them. And it's not missing anybody. And I feel like that's where the gaps get filled at the macro level.
In order to create macro change, does anything need to happen at the meso and the micro level in order to support that? Or how is it influenced? How is that change influenced?
Yeah, I think so. At the meso level, it's going to be our community champions. It's going to be our gatekeepers. So we might meet one individual at a food drive, and this individual has a need for formula. But we might say like, oh, okay, well, maybe we need to work with the other food banks here, or maybe we need to see that it is a system issue, like it's a community problem. But who are the gatekeepers to that? So who are the commissioners that's over that? Who are the council people that is over that district? And then get their buy-in to it. And so in getting their buy-in, getting the community buy-in, and then that is kind of like what feeds the information up the chain. So that way at the macro level, you're like, oh, okay, this has been identified as a community issue. Okay, this is affecting so many people. Okay, let's talk about drafting up a policy that is going to take place to cover this entire region. And that way we can affect it. And then maybe we can talk about doing it at a county level and then maybe at a state level.
Awareness is huge, and awareness is the name of the game. We got to get a little bit smarter. We got to develop a little bit more courage to face some of those things that we have been ignoring for quite some time. And at this stage of life, particularly, as I can imagine, the individuals who follow and have been following along, we're reaching that place in life now where we want to see better, right? We believe what we were taught, we believe what grandma told us, and now we want to see it manifest in our environments. But what we also have to understand is that there are things that we have to do at our micro level in order to be able to allow for that macro change to occur. So we just got to roll up our sleeves and we just got to work a little bit. And I think that as your husband so eloquently stated, this is where the change starts with platforms such as this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say again, like, subscribe, and share. Right, like, subscribe, and share. However, there's things going on in the city of Jacksonville. Could you share with us some of the upcoming initiatives that are going to be taking place and some of the things that the Jacksonville Urban League is championing?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the events that we're going to come up, and I guess before I go into that, so one of the initiatives within the Youth Crime Prevention Program is increasing trust between law enforcement and the community. So it's like, what does that look like? And so I sat down with my advisory committee, and this committee is made up of various different leaders that represent different community sectors. So law, legal, community organizations, education. And so they sat down and we identified several topics to address at these community police relations, and we call them CPR forums. And so gun violence awareness and prevention was one of the topics that was voted on that we said we needed to cover. And so in doing that, we talked about who needs to be at the table for it, and then what do we want the takeaway to be? Because when we talk about increasing trust between law enforcement and community, that might look different based on who you're talking to. Like, well, what does increasing trust look like? Does that mean that you are not afraid to call law enforcement if you see something going on? If you are in need of help, does that look like community initiatives that law enforcement might have to build that trust with youth? And that way we have youth that's going to grow up into adults and they're going to have a trust already of law. So it looks so different. But my thing was having it be where people can come out and have an intimate, honest, transparent dialogue with law enforcement. And so the fourth one that we have will be coming up. It's going to be February 20th. We're going to host it on a Friday. It's from 5 to 7. And we're going to do that at the Florida Barber Institute here in Jacksonville. And in doing that, they're going to be providing free haircuts for anybody that comes, with the hopes that, we attract a lot of youth. We had a lot of youth at the last forum in December. And so we're hoping to have a lot more youth at this one too, because I feel that a lot of times we, as adults and as organizations, we can assume that we know what the youth want or like what's concerning to them. But a lot of times we don't, because we don't ask them like, hey, what's concerning to you? What would you really like to know? And so to have the youth there and have them present to be able to share their concerns and be able to get their questions answered and to feel empowered and like they have a voice, that's huge to me. And that is that meso change that ideally on the macro level, we can get systematic wide change with it, but it's from where we're starting at. So we're starting at this level here. And so, I really just would like the community to come out and support that event in any way that they feel that they can. Word of mouth is huge, but we're better together, and that's power and unity. And so when we come together and we're able to come together and voice that change, it's magic that takes place. Like, I wish everybody watching could have attended the one in December just to see how great that dialogue was in that room. But I just sat there in awe in hearing this. And it went from being, moderated questions that are asked to a panel to really being just a community discussion, and for the community to feel comfortable to ask the questions, and for law enforcement to also feel like they have a voice and they're empowered too. And to say like, hey, we're here for you, because we are blessed to really have great law enforcement, not just in Jacksonville, but in Clay County as well. We have really good law enforcement here, and they have really good community initiatives that they have in place. And so to be able to sit there and educate the community about like, hey, what we have going on and how you can have responsibility as far as safety too, because it's not just on law enforcement, is the community has a role in that too. They have a role in providing safe spaces for people. And so it's just a beautiful event. It has grown way past, surpassed my expectations for it. And I'm just really excited, and I'm really anticipating the next one. So be really good.
I'm excited about it too.
Yeah.
Having the opportunity to attend 2 of your events last year, knowing what this year could potentially be if we come together and support. So parents, right? Bring your children out to the Community Police Relations Forum. Bring them, come sit with them. A lot of times as adults, we believe that we know or we understand the struggles that our children are experiencing. But what we have to do is we have to come to grips with the fact that we have no idea what they're facing every single day. And all you have to do is just be real with yourself and think about how much truth you told your parent, right? When you were growing up. I remember I was 15 years old. I told my mom I was going to go spend the night at my Aunt Moya house. I was in Atlanta. I was 15. I was 15. I thank God that he allowed me to make it back to Miami, right?
Yes.
Because we was kids, but we thought we was grown.
Yeah.
Because we were dealing with grown realities. These children, if you think about the realities we was facing as children, it pale in comparison to what these children are dealing with. These children dealing with real life experiences, real adult type themes. And if we not there, sometimes we got to be there. We got to hug them, embrace them, and support them. But then there's other times we got to grab them jokers by the ear and pull them down into the Community Police Relations Forum. Allow the discussions to take place so we can develop the solutions to the problems that we're experiencing. So thank you for what you're doing every single day. What can we do? What can we do as a community to support your efforts?
Yeah, I'll say again, word of mouth is huge. You know, Popeyes came out with that chicken sandwich. Right, I'm referencing like
hold
the
on,
Popeyes chicken sandwich, right? Oh, it's delicious. But they came out with it, and it's almost like it exploded overnight, right?
Yes.
And it's because people were like looking at TikToks and, you're on Instagram, you seeing like videos of somebody like, oh, get in line, try this chicken sandwich. It's the best chicken sandwich I ever had. And so it's like, I got to get a chicken sandwich. I will sit in this line for 2 hours if I can get my hands on that chicken sandwich, right? And so if we can do things for something as trivial but delicious as a Popeyes chicken sandwich, shout out Popeyes. But if we could do something like that, then what more for something that is going to be for the betterment of our children and of our community. And so word of mouth is huge. So get out there, share the word, but not only that, attend the forum. Sign up and attend it. No, don't just say, like, oh, I'll watch this podcast and they were talking about the CPR forum and it sounds really good, but no, come out and attend it. That way, when you go talk to somebody else about it, now you're credible. And you can say like, hey, I went to that and it was such good dialogue that they had that was going on. You got to let this person know, and that person go let somebody else know. And then it's just going to be a snowball effect with it. And that's how I feel like we move more community change. That's how the things go up the chain to say like, oh, this is an issue. This is something that maybe we need to address systematically. How do we do it? And so I'm just here doing my part with the Urban League. That I'm doing my role and rolling my part, but the community's part would be to participate and then to share the word about that.
That's what a community is, right? So let's galvanize our effort. Let's pool our collective strength, and let's get behind good leaders, right? It's been a real gap in our communities. It's been a gap in our existence here in this nation where we've seen a void develop relative to leaders in our communities. That used to be a thing, right? Or we've had some great leaders in the history of this nation, but it's a lull right now where we really don't know, who is our leader. I had an experience, and I share this experience when I was in high school. I used to skip school a lot, but I'm and anybody who know me, shout out to Coach Moore, right? Miami Carroll City Senior High. I walked into Coach Moore class one day, and Coach Moore had a Final Call newspaper. And when I was familiar with the Final Call newspaper because my cousins used to put me on. My cousins used to buy the Final Call. They brought me Mr. the Black Man. But on the front of this Final Call newspaper was a picture of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And Coach Moore held up the paper and he said, who is this man? Do y'all know who this man is? I knew, but I didn't say anything, right? Because I was trying to figure out where he was going. And so everybody in the class started cracking jokes. Oh, that's them boys out there with them bean pies, be out there in the street with them bean pies selling. Oh, it was in the papers. Coach Moore, a Caucasian man, he looked directly into the face of everybody in this classroom. He said, this is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He said, this is y'all leader. He said, y'all should be familiar with who y'all leader is. Now, when he shared that, I was baffled. I was baffled because I couldn't fathom this Caucasian man referencing and reverencing this profound Black leader. But it started a process with me that made me want to discover who was those individuals that we should give our attention to. And I'm telling y'all right now, from this humble place that I find myself in at this point in life, this young lady is one of our leaders, and this is someone who we should listen to. So thank you very much for coming down here and gliding on the slide. This is what we do. And this year we want to be very, very surgical about the conversation that we have. And we're not just having these conversations for likes and shares. Let me just be clear. That ain't why we come here, right? We do this because at this point in our life, when you look at life and you realize that I made it through 50 years of this thing, doing whatever I wanted to do, what I want to ensure is that those individuals coming in back of me have 50 to do whatever they want to do. And at the rate that we're going, if we don't do the things that need to be done, we put in jeopardy another person's opportunity to live and exist the way that they desire. So we do our part. Identify who your leaders are. Identify those things that we can do to improve the quality of the condition in our community. Come out to the forums, participate in the dialogues, bring your children. This is the most important part. Bring your children. Allow your children to participate. The things that I heard coming from the children that were in the audience were profound.
Yes.
And you would not know that your children are involved in some of these things unless you bring them out into environments like this. I had an opportunity to eulogize a young man in the city of Killeen, Texas, Johnny Martinez. He was murdered over 2 ounces of marijuana. Right when that kid died, all the whole hood came out. It was one of the most beautiful funerals, and it only makes sense to be able to say that after the man was only 18 when he left. Right, and much love to Sister Keela, his mother. If you have opportunity to see this, we love you. Right. But I reference Johnny because I brought my son with me. Right. I felt that at this point in my life, I had did everything I needed to do to keep my son square as I could. Right. And so I brought my son down to the funeral. I was like, you gonna come see me eulogize this young man? I'm gonna introduce you to the hood. That's what I thought I was gonna do. Right. And so after the funeral was over, the big homie came through. I was gonna introduce my son to the big homie. So I'm telling him, I said, hey, young man, this is my son. He looked at my son and they embraced each other and dapped each other up. And I say, I really don't have no clue what my son do when he leave the house. Right? I thank God that he made it through whatever adversities he was facing, because everything that them kids was participating in the hood, he was participating in them. But I was too lame to see it, because the only thing I wanted to see is what I believed of my son. And my son is a good kid. My son is a great kid. Anybody who know me that's watching this right now, y'all know who Jaleel is. Jaleel is a wonderful young man. And right now he made his way off into on the Navy. He's serving right now on the USS Nimitz.
Yeah.
Right. And so I ain't knocking him. But the day after he left to join the Navy, his best friend got arrested for robbery. Right. And I'm talking about this is man's. Right. See, it's just some things that we naive to, and we can't no longer be naive to it. And that don't make none of the people involved in the story bad. These is kids. They need to be embraced and shown a better way. But if we don't embrace them and show them a better way, how we expect them to learn? How we expect them to learn? Right. And so I think that gives us a good stop point right now. You got to come back and join us again. Right. You got to come back and join us again, because what we got to do is we got to be able to lay a foundation. This is just some stuff people just don't know.
That's
right.
True.
It's just stuff they don't know. And so we just want to have. So if you could give any word of advice to a parent, right, as we close, as you can give any word of advice to a parent, what would you share with them, knowing the challenges that we face every single day?
Yeah. I would speak to the parent that may have a wayward child, because I was a wayward child and I happened to raise a wayward child. And so I've had the opportunity to speak to many moms that just were at the end of their rope and like, I don't know what else to do with my son. He won't listen. He's involved in God knows what, and I'm just lost. I don't know what to do. Um, as a Christian, my first line of defense is always going to be prayer. Um, but also too, I would tell parents to not give up hope and that you have a bad day. It's not a bad life. You don't have a bad child or anything like that. A lot of times we have to allow our children to experience life. And I think for millennials and Gen Xers out there, we want to shield our children from experiencing some things that we had to experience. So, well, not my kid. Like I'm not going to let them do that. But life has a funny way of teaching our kids a lot better than we can.
Correct.
And so sometimes you have to let them kind of bump their head a few times for them to get it. But eventually they will get it. Don't give up hope and become familiar with what resources are out there for your children and don't live in denial either. Because that's a place that we can fall into like, oh, my child is not suffering from X, Y, and Z. Fill that in with whatever you want to put there. My child is not dealing with that. But they very well be like, so it's okay. And it's okay to have them sit down and talk with someone, a third party, someone who's not biased, who doesn't know this child at all, and maybe try to tap into what is going on with them. And that's okay to seek help. There are mentorship programs that's out there that's really, really great within the community. I'm not going to name any particular ones, so I'm not going to show favoritism because I'm partnered with so many different ones. But there are really great organizations within our Northeast Florida region for parents to research, find out about, and get their kids involved in. If you don't have a father figure in the home, or if you're a single dad, a lot of single fathers raising children. And so if you're looking for that male or that female counterpart to be there for your children, there are organizations out there that is free and that will come and pick up your children too, and be able to pick up your children and spend time with them and provide that mentorship for them. But it takes a village. That is a fact. I know that's not popular nowadays because we can all be so used to being in our own silos and our own worlds, but it really takes a village to raise our children. And that village can be your church. That village can be a club, after school club. It could be an athletic association. Whatever that village is, it takes that. We need that. We need that help and support. So that would be the words that I would leave for parents out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. As you all know, our overall goal is to equip the men and women in our family that have the opportunity to share these moments with us with nuggets of wisdom that'll help comfort you and guide you through these years of experience that where we are right now. And so, as I close, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. I know how valuable your time is, and I just hope that you caught on to a lot of the jewels that were dropped here today. Go back and watch again because this segment was packed with information. And I think that if you go back and you just delve into it and parse some of the words, you'll really see the wisdom that was shared here today. And our goal is to continue to do this over and over again. So thank you for everything that you do, and good luck on your journey and the things that you're doing as you go day to day. As you know, as we always say, you can run and you can glide, but you cannot hide when you ride the slide. So thank you. Be